not get the boarding pass to my email. Oh, that's sad. I do not want the Finnair app. Your customer service is in the internet and I don't want to use it.
The app is amazing, intuitive, easy to handle, and links in the competitor's frequent flyer account automatically.
I really love the Finnair website, especially compared to e.g. competitors' site. The way of showing the prices of flights for different days of arrival/departure is wonderfully simple and so customer friendly. Please never change that. This is so wonderful to use. The website is total crap.
I really like the friendly greeting from the captain, the helpful crew and the Finnair app.
For a relatively long flight, the plane was very disappointing. Full of crying kids, uncomfortable seats, and no in-flight entertainment. Staff on board were great and friendly, but I expect more from Finnair when traveling business class. It felt almost like an EasyJet flight.
Okay. Finnair app is total crap. With every check-in, you need to fill your passport number, etc. Horrible.
Yeah, Finnair, from my experience, is a lesser-known airline and had my concerns. But my whole experience with you has been excellent and I would happily fly with you again. The app is also excellent, informative and easy to use. My only comment would be the age of the films you show on board. They felt a little dated, but this is very minor and a personal opinion. Yeah.
This questionnaire is ridiculously long. The continue button is way too much to the right. I was this close of quitting several times.
Keep up the good work. Excellent.
So, now that you met a few of my colleagues, let me introduce myself. I'm Marja Ojala, like I said, lead designer for our in-flight entertainment, or what we nowadays maybe call more onboard digital platform, and the mobile app. Today I'm going through some examples, some cases that we do at Finnair, how to spread the customer voice and customer needs across our organization. So, maybe first off, how many of you know what Finland is? Yeah, it's a country. How many of you have been in Finland? Okay, quite a few actually. And did you fly Finnair? Oh, some hands were raised. So there's a lot of, let's say, this kind of what Finland is, or the stereotypes. We're into vodka, sauna. We really like our personal space. That's why I actually have this huge stage. But in reality, we also, well, all of those stereotypes are true. But in reality, we also have, let's say, we have really like good work-life balance in Finland. And also at the workplace, we have a pretty low hierarchy when it comes to let's say, for me it would be not unusual if I would have a coffee with the CEO, for instance, or not for any of our developers, for that matter. Yeah, sauna, maybe not every day, once a fortnight or so. But yeah, about Finnair, we are Finland's flagship carrier, almost 100 years old. So we will turn 100 in 23. And we kind of have the shortest route between Europe and Asia, since we fly over the Siberian and almost Northern Pole. 2.5 years ago, Finnair, or actually 3 years ago, Finnair started making major changes to how we do work at Finnair. So they invested in creating an in-house development digital platform team, including in-house developers, testers, designers, product owners and other roles alongside with the external subcontractors. We also invested in a company-wide iPhone fleet, so all of our employees actually have, from cabin crew to the office worker, we have a company iPhone. That is the kind of laying the base for our future possibilities when it comes to serving the customer on the go and getting up-to-date information, for instance. So, why I wanted to actually have this talk about customer voice. We had our new CEO appointed beginning of this year, and it stuck to me, this kind of anecdote that he said that when it was announced that he will be the new CEO of Finnair, he was coming from one of the biggest banks in Finland, from Nordea, that he thought that you will get a lot of critique and feedback directly to you when you're working at the banking. But once he started to work at aviation and Finnair, he was blown away. Basically, you get bombarded with constant feedback. For instance, myself as well, I don't get a normal day at home because, for instance, my dad sends me these PowerPoint decks on suggestions how to improve Finnair services. So since Finnair is the kind of main airline of Finland, that means that almost all of the Finns are flying Finnair. And that means that we got a lot of feedback. Whether you're just the direct channels that we have, or when you're at the bar and make the mistake of saying that you work for Finnair, constantly. And I like it, personally. Maybe some others don't. But yeah, so who are our customers then? So we have the Finns. They make up around 50%, depending on the season, 50-70% of our passengers. We also then have the European or Asian business travelers, from who we don't get that much of that feedback, at least organic feedback. And when I say organic, I mean that they are proactively contacting you about that feedback. Then there's the Asian leisure traveler who might have the kind of trip of their lifetime with us once in 5 years or once in 10 years, and might be that they will never fly with us again. But it's our kind of responsibility to give them that trip of a lifetime. But then we also have our internal customers, for instance, cabin crew, pilots, the customer-facing crew, also the ground crew, gate crew, and so on, and then the back office or the back stage from maintenance to kitchen to loading and so on. There, one may be mentioned what I said, the low hierarchy. That doesn't actually apply when it comes to aviation in the operative world. So of course aviation is highly hierarchical. And you can basically see that there's a strict chain of command on board with the stripes and so on. Even so, we do get when not on duty, we do get this kind of really instant and honest feedback from our cabin crew as well. Then, for instance, what we do now, to get to know our customers. Well, I mentioned the organic feedback, so naturally we do have this kind of feedback channels on our touch points. I guess that's a normal thing. So, for instance, different touch points. What I do, for instance, with the in-flight entertainment, we have this Wi-Fi portal from which we get direct feedback to our team. Same for the mobile app. We have a send feedback channel that goes directly to the team. Of course, then if there's a customer case issue, we will then forward that to those appropriate people. But basically, we are the people or developers, designers, testers, and the team itself are the people who are handling that, those kind of different customer cases that are revolving around, let's say, the technical problems or the kind of like user experience issues. And for instance, with the feedback, like whole team takes part. Like for instance, with the app team, we have, there's this one tester who has like now taking the role of like assigning people with the like feedback duties, but like each of the developers and designers, they will take like turns or weeks that they will then handle the feedback and reply and get to know the customers as well. And actually that's a really good way of recruiting users, since if they have complained about something and we want to fix it, then we might get them to get us the kind of a response or like test the new ideas that we have. Then the user testing and validations. Yes, you can see the picture behind. So this is a picture that was taken maybe a few weeks back. So part of this in-flight entertainment project. So we do this like one-on-one validations or then online testing as well. Yesterday in the UK government speech, there was that the user research is a separate discipline. At our organization, the designers, or say like the lead designers, senior designers, junior designers, they are all involved doing and facilitating testing. So different approach there, and at least for me it's been working, and for others in our team as well. Surveys, that's like of course, like again, like basics of the toolbox, and there we have like different units contributing, like the business unit, but we can do it ourselves as well. So one of the examples is that we have this online community where we can post surveys or even small prototype tests. That it consists of our Finnair Plus frequent flyers, and I believe our design researcher posted a test on the online community, and it was 3 hours until she got the quota filled that she was requesting, so that we can really like do this like fast releases of tests as well. Then analytics, A/B testing. Not sure if I can, like, because I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'm just going to say we have done the first onboard A/B testing in the world. So through the Wi-Fi portal website, we're actually now doing this kind of continuous A/B testing. We started that a bit over a year ago, maybe 1.5 years ago, focusing on our pre-order shopping. So we're kind of, and that's still the kind of thing that we're kind of testing around, that how can we improve the conversion, for instance. So because we control our own portal, we control our own IFE, which is also unique in airline industry, that we would do that. We can do this kind of really fast end-to-end testing, even on board the aircraft. Then we have the diaries and probe kits. This is more about this kind of future of that we would want to get actual user journeys documented by the users or by the passengers. Actually, let's go back one still. So also, few things that we do is that we have these observation flights or shadowing flights. So if you go to the UXDX app and see my picture there, that's actually taken from a cockpit flight that I had with the pilots. So this is, of course, something that's pretty unique as well. So the things that we do, well, involve individuals, and across teams and hierarchy. So this, even in my previous jobs, I basically pulled in like C-suite people to take part in user validations or concept validations to help them understand the market better or the needs better. Also, for instance, with the mobile app team, we have like constructed this tradition almost that we do airport testing. The developers take part in that testing. They might even conduct that testing. And that actually has then kind of really made them more maybe in tune with the product as well, caring and owning the product. Then involving the team, so responsibility follow-up as well. So for instance, with the user validations, even if we do this kind of face-to-face, the team is not present, I will still involve the team in planning the test, for instance. What are the things that we want to know? From developer side, can we, is this the most important thing, or should we put all of our effort in this and this and this? So developers are involved, and of course product managers are involved in creating the tests and defining what we actually need to know. Share the quotes. So this is something that, of course, when you get those quotes, remember to document them and share them around. Customer quotes, video clips, those are extremely powerful tool to be using. Something that you might forget every now and then. We're just now basically trying to build up our bank of quotes. Then share the success stories. So here, this as a designer, I really enjoy negative feedback because that means that there's something I can fix. There's something wrong that can be fixed. For others, that can feel almost like an insult or something that you're not doing your work properly because something is wrong. So I personally rather go through success stories, showing when we did this validation, when we did this testing, when we did this and this and this, and then if we can even wrap it up with a good a customer quote, like we did for the mobile app seat reservation. We did a lot of testing. Some people were questioning, is it worth it? At the end of, once we had released it, we got an organic feedback, a positive feedback, which is rare, saying the customer that he had tried the seat reservation and he absolutely loved it. And this is something that's really difficult to usually get, positive organic feedback. Then the kind of town halls, exhibitions, demos, open houses, and including the customer voice in all of those. So, gathering feedback, gathering the sources of feedback, that's first of all the issue. So now actually we have a bit of an issue after GDPR took effect last year. Our feedback sources were so that we kind of needed to destroy the base that we had a bit, and we're still kind of thinking how to rebuild that so that we can get this centralized and quantified feedback sorting. So if you have any suggestions how to handle feedback and GDPR, please come and see me after. We also have this innovation sprints that we do in-house, where one of the teams came up with this a social media, whenever there's a Finnair hashtag, what are trending, what are the feedback stuff that are trending over there. And this is maybe something that we will investigate in our own internal platforms as well. And also, if you make sure that you're not doing this alone, find the allies in your company. Packaging, something that, like I said, this quotes, this kind of easily digestible snippets, something that are easy to share, something that people can pick up from a presentation and put it in their own. And also the easy access to feedback, so again, the access rights and the sources. And then the distribution, so blast those every single presentation that you have. And then offer the channels where the others can learn more about that. Then, why does it matter? I feel that this is still something that needs reasoning, or especially if you have done that one validation, then it's yeah, we've done my work, we've done validation, we know what our customers want. So still, it needs to have this almost a fight to get this continuous validation, continuous loop of feedback, continuous customer voice, and keep it fresh. So of course, like it has an expiration date. But this is one of my favorite jokes, which I feel that refers well in design world. But this, like, I've been part of these projects where, when the project failed, there's like, but we kind of, the kind of hindsight, like, we could have known this. Yeah, we could. if we asked the customer. Also, one thing, since the customer quotes and so on, those are really powerful, you can actually abuse them as well, like interpret it as you wish, hear what you want to hear. And this is a bit of a struggle or like a challenge when it comes on like the user quotes and having people part of validations, for instance, especially if not trained. So the kind of mediocre or medium interest in a feature, for instance, might be interpreted like, people really like it. No, they don't. They're just saying whatever. But who has the responsibility? So designers at Finnair, we are heavily involved in planning, facilitating the kind of summarizing, analyzing the feedback, validation stuff, basically everything, and then kind of summarizing it for our product managers or product owners, developers taking part in the testing, making sure that we have the kind of means to monitor the kind of usage, and also the A/B testing, enabling our A/B tests. POs and management. The number one thing for them is the fact that they need to be able to secure the resources, secure the time resources for the customer voice to be heard. Of course, it's a costly thing, but it costs way much more if you don't ask the customers and spend all that time making something that is not used. So I will leave you off with a few pointers. So make the effort building the relationship with the customer. This goes both to our passengers and to our internal customers. So for instance, with the internal customers or cabin crew, for instance, we need to get their trust to get the actual insight. With the passengers, build the kind of base for fast recruitment. Don't be afraid of contacting the passengers or customers directly. There's quite a few of those passengers that I've, for instance, done validations with who are top tier or frequent flyer, that when I go to the airport, it seems that every single time I see a person that we've done testing with, and they all recognize me and I recognize them. So it's a, good feeling as well. Of course, there's a difference with kind of B2B, B2C. So with B2B, there might be a bit of people might not be sharing their insights that openly, or that they just don't know their customers' insights or thoughts and needs that well. Then make effort building relationship with data and analytics team. This is something that I'm now kind of lacking. I used to have a team member who was doing this, but now he's moved on to other things. So I need to kind of rethink the whole thing. But basically, you don't need to do all of this. You can delegate. Then take the time to go through customer feedback and talking to them directly. So this is something that I kind of noticed. I slip at this every now and then. For instance, I don't read the feedback for 2 weeks, and then I notice haven't been now updating my pulse. But basically, take the time. And the most importantly, at least for me, is the secure and demand time and money for the customer voice. So for instance, what we're doing now is the project, a huge investment for Finnair, and they didn't include anything for customer validation, anything. Well, once I suggested it or proposed it, it went through like this, but it's still not part of the kind of, let's say, basic structure. And it's even more difficult for those touch points that already exist because they're already performing, so why do we need to kind of have that? I'm out of time soon, so we're looking for new additions to our design team as a design researcher. So if you're interested, contact me after this show or find me on LinkedIn, and let's see what we can do. Thank you.